Thank you for joining me. Today's tutorial is going to be Brie. I had a request for Brie, so here is my Brie. I have my little slice, and then of course it goes good with a baguette. If I get requests for a baguette, I'll go ahead and do another tutorial later on that separately. But here we are, and here we go. This is a very, very simple one. I'd even say a beginner. Requires very little in the way of tools, and so what I do is I just have plain translucent. This is good with plain translucent, the inside of the Brie, although if you wanted a little bit brighter, like natural Brie, then you're going to want to add a little bit of white and a little bit of ecru. I leave it plain because I want the contrast against the white. It's harder to get the contrast in real life if you add too much white. So we just roll the inside into a ball. And then the outside, I use white and translucent. It's about a mix of half and half. And after I roll it into a ball, I flatten it. This is much like my mochi and my truffles. It's the same process as far as this goes, the covering. I flatten a ball, and once it gets large enough, I start covering the inside portion. You start wrapping it around. And you just make sure that the white is covering the inside Brie portion completely. You could pinch off the sides that are extra. And then you roll it back into a ball. I just want to make sure I covered all the inside portion of the Brie. It looks like I did. So now I'll roll it in a ball. It's not quite a ball yet. Okay, well, that's good enough for display purposes. But here we just have a round ball. The white is on the outside, the translucent's on the inside, and we start squishing it. Now for the Brie, I like to squish and go in a circle. So that would be what I do. I twist slightly with my one hand, twist slightly, making it go in a circle, and the other hand is keeping the top and bottom flat. Now, alternatively, after flattening it, what I show in my tutorial is putting it on a paper and rolling it on its sides. That works just as well. And just make sure that you have your piece into the Brie shape that you like. Some Bries are flatter on the edges, some are higher. Now I'm going to texture it. I like the meg grinder for texturing it. You don't have to use the meg grinder. In my written instructions too, I mentioned letting it rest for a half hour. That's because sometimes it has a tendency to be soft. If it's not soft, you don't have to let it rest, but you can easily squish it if during the texturing process if it is really soft. So if it is really soft, you might want to let it rest an hour or two. But I just gently press it on the net mug grinder. You can see it's already starting to texture. I roll it on the side, and I press it. You just don't want to lose the pretty cheese wheel shape. And like I said, if it's too soft from conditioning, you can squish it. Now, part of the reason I also use the nutmeg grinder is because you can lose some of the texture, and if you want texture on the bottom of your cheese wheel, it helps to have that nutmeg grinder in the process, because usually when I texture with my toothbrush, which is the next step, it's on the paper. Some of you may notice that I use paper a lot as my work surface. I use paper a lot because it helps. I like that, and I like glass. I love using glass as a work surface, but it's very cold, and it could harden and uncondition your clay pretty quickly. Same thing with granite. But here we go, almost done. You just want to make sure you keep the wheel shape. Put that closer to where you could see it. But I like using the paper. It's easier to remove the clay from the paper than it is from glass. I like baking on paper because that way you don't have a shiny bottom and it stays the same as the rest. So here we cut into our Brie. And if it is soft after the texturing process, that it might be another time where you step back for a half hour and let it rest. I just cut a little triangle out, and I like saving the cute little piece of Brie because I'll often put a charm, I'll make a head pin and I'll throw it through and I'll leave it with the bread. I think that a bread and a slice of cheese is really cute on one necklace. And I'll throw the actual Brie on another necklace. I think that's cute. You don't have to throw away the little pieces. You could just think of something else creative to use them on. So we have our Brie. Most Brie is smooth. You can always use a little tool to try to get knife marks in it if you were wanting to. I personally like it smooth instead, but just because I thought it's prettier than having it completely smooth inside, I take the back of a paintbrush and I roll it slightly against. And this is more reminiscent of Swiss cheese than actually Brie, but I find it very pretty. I like a lot of contrast, and I feel it just adds to the contrast. So at this point, after I put a few little, I do it in a few places, the paintbrush. Here I have, let's see if you could see it, I have 2 on this side and 1 on this side. And I usually have 1 or 2 on the little piece as well. But from here, you would bake it. And after baking it, you could turn it into your charm. After baking it, you can choose whether you would like to actually gloss glaze it or not. I like having a difference between the outside and the inside. I do gloss it just because it offers a little bit more of a different look with the textures. I like having the textures be a little bit more different from each other. So I add that gloss. So here we go. You have the Brie with a baguette and your cheese. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you would like to see more, subscribe, favorite, comment. Let me know if there's particular foods that you like to see. Thank you very much for watching.